Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is day 192, September the 14th, 2017, Thursday. Thank you so much for tuning in. Well, another big news day. First, we're getting our little bit of Hurricane Irma the last 24 or 36 hours. It's not been raining hard, it just hasn't stopped raining. It's been overcast and rainy for like a day and a half. It's been raining all day. It's going to rain all through the night. But they are saying it's going to clear up and be very nice this weekend. But anyway, like a day and a half, almost 2 straight days of just, light to moderate rain. But of course, we can't complain too much when you look at the situation down in Florida and Houston and around the area there. Things are pretty tough for those folks down there. So you're certainly not complaining about anything. But we are getting the rain up here now from Hurricane Irma, and I'm sure a lot of you are as well, and depending on what area of the country that you're in. So anyway, we're getting a little taste of Irma. And another quick note about something that's going to be happening tomorrow, or today as you're watching the video, will be the September the 14th. And that, of course, is the day that the Awans are going to be there for their arraignment. Now, we already know from the court filings that the government is going to petition the court that they have reached or are reaching, working on an immunity for full immunity for the Awans, and that they are going to become witnesses for the government, to testify for the government. So this is what essentially is probably going to happen in those hearings tomorrow and nothing more. Once because the court has already received the filings, they already know. Tomorrow morning when the court proceeding begins, they know what the proceedings are going to be for that morning. They'll be very quick, very brief, very simple, because the filings have already been done, which is that there will no longer be any charges essentially leveled at the Awans, because they are going to take a full immunity agreement to be witnesses for the government. So anyway, that's essentially what's going to happen tomorrow. There could be something else that comes out, I don't know, but we do know that much just from the court filings. Sometime, though, in the next few days, maybe a couple weeks, I don't know how long it will take them to put their case together and cross all the T's and dot all the I's, but you can expect here sometime in the next couple, anywhere from weeks to days, that they are going to announce formal charges against certainly Debbie Blabbermouth Wasserman Schultz. And it appears that there'll be other people involved in that as well. Current members of Congress, maybe former members of Congress, maybe people who worked at the DNC, could be people outside of the government or out of Congress. So we really don't know who all is going to be implicated in this, but we do know that the fact that the government has given full immunity and is working on granting full immunity to the Awans for some fairly serious felonies, that they're going to get something very big in return, a much bigger fish. So the question will, at that point, be, once we see who the bigger fish are, it'll be interesting to know whether or not Debbie Blabbermouth Wasserman Schultz or any of the other people who are implicated are going to themselves give up an even bigger fish. I think there's a lot of people very nervous right now about exactly what direction this is going to go. But I can assure you, I can't see any way possible that they could let the Awans off for the various felonies that they've committed and then not get a conviction, a prosecution, or charge another person or persons for even greater crimes. That simply wouldn't, I just don't think that would fly. It would be just way too many questions about something like that. That would be something you wouldn't want to do, I don't think. And I think the Justice Department understands that. I don't think they can say, yeah, we're going to let the Awans off. They're going to give us all this info. And then when the Awans sing like a bird, and you get all the information, you say, okay, well, we got a lot of information, found out there was a lot of things going on that shouldn't have been going on, but no reasonable prosecutor would prosecute these cases. So it's, we just want to have a little fact-finding mission. We've got the information, and so it's all good. Thank you all for tuning in. I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think it's going to fly like that. So I do expect there will be charges and prosecutions for individuals, particularly Debbie Wasserman Schultz and others, unless they can turn a little trick like the Awans turned to sing like a bird and get themselves some immunity for an even bigger fish. And there's not a whole lot of fish bigger than Debbie Wasserman Schultz, head of the DNC, member of Congress. Who else could it be? The president? Maybe the Reverend Rotten? Maybe some super wealthy bankers or something? I don't really know. Who knows? We'll keep watching. It's getting very interesting, though. Okay, True Pundit. The investigative division. We're now learning a little bit about what happened in that closed session with Susan Rice. It appears now that Susan Rice did admit to the House investigators that she did unmask senior Trump officials. And she says that she did so to understand why the Crown Prince of the United Arab Emirates was in New York late last year. She alleged that the United Arab Emirates was setting up a back channel for communications between Russia and the incoming Trump White House. Now, unfortunately, it appears that even the Republicans on this committee have bit. They've bit on it. They believe it. This is bullshit. I remember that very, very well. I remember it very well. It made the press headlines for a couple of days, and what happened was, it was basically coming up on election time, and Obama got his feelings hurt because the Emir of the UAE came to the United States and didn't first clear it with the Obama administration, nor did he have any interest in coming by for a visit with the Obama administration, essentially because he was a lame duck. And Obama felt like he was disrespected. Now, this is a cover story. They had to find something and some reason, and so this is a reason that Rice can put out there. I don't buy it. Unfortunately, it looks like from what's being reported here, that seemed to satisfy the members, including Republican members of the committee that was doing the Q&A with Susan Rice. I would like to see a lot more documents. I would like to see dates and times. I would like to see specifics. I would like to see exactly what those conversations were that were unmasked. These are the conversations that Devin Nunes looked at, and he told us basically that these conversations had nothing to do with national security or anything else. I haven't heard from Devin Nunes or whether they're changing their tune or whether they're being told to step down. I just don't know. But I can tell you that this response is bullshit. It is true that Obama was miffed, but why would Obama go to Susan Rice and say, yeah, I want you to unmask people around Trump, his senior people, who are going to be having a meeting with the Emir of the United Arab Emirates. Obviously, it was just a issue with Obama being embarrassed or having his feelings hurt or getting angry or whatever that he got skipped over when the Emir came here. He didn't want to spend any time or pay any attention to Obama. He wanted to talk with Trump or senior Trump officials. So we really haven't learned anything about what specifically was unmasked, how many times it was unmasked, what the dates were of the unmasking, if that was all the unmasking. And this story, it just doesn't fly. This still to me doesn't justify the unmasking of Trump senior officials. I don't see how this justifies the unmasking of Trump senior officials. Other than what Susan Rice is suggesting is that they believed that the Emir was trying to set up a back channel for communications between Russia and the incoming Trump White House. Well, now, I don't know if they asked for follow-up questions, but I certainly would have a bunch of follow-up questions to that. Where did they get that assumption? Name some names, give some dates, give some times, give some information. Where did you get the assumption that the UAE was setting up a back channel communications? Where did you get that information? You see, these are the types of questions that should have been asked. Maybe they were, but I wasn't there. Neither were you. Neither was anybody, except for Susan Rice and I'm sure her team of lawyers and a bunch of corrupt politicians. I don't know why she needed a closed session in order to say this. She could have said this in front of everybody. There's a lot more, I'm sure, that was discussed. It appears to me that it's what we always see, which is that they're going to sweep this under the rug. They want it to go away. Probably some deal's been cut. You never know. But anyway, this is what we know. I'm not telling you I like this. I'm not telling you this is good. I'm just telling you this is what happened. You generally get little leaks here and there about what went on in these closed sessions, but that's all you ever really get, is little leaks here and there of a few things here and there. I think what the public has a right to have the exact word-for-word transcripts of every single question and every single answer. Unless there's something that's really national security related, which could be blacked out. But other than that, we should get to know exactly what happened, and these things shouldn't even be behind closed doors. I don't even believe in these closed door sessions. Not very happy with what I'm learning at this point from this story. Clinton State Department silenced them on Benghazi security lapses, contractors say. Now, this is based on a TV interview that these two contractors did with Tucker Carlson of Fox News. Brad Owens and Jerry Torres of Torres Enterprises Solutions were on with Tucker Carlson of Fox News, and they said that they faced pressure to stay silent and get on the same page with the State Department with regard to the security lapses that led to the deaths of the 4 Americans in Benghazi. Now, these individuals worked for a company which was security contractors. They were brought in about 2 weeks before the September 11th attack in Benghazi to clean up, what they were told was to clean up the security mess that existed there in Benghazi. Now, I'm not going to go into the whole Benghazi thing. I don't have time in this video, but I will just say this. Of course, we remember these are the two individuals who, when they were having the Benghazi hearings, these are two of the guys that they wanted to interview in the various committees investigating, and these were two of the guys that were not permitted by the State Department to testify. The Rotten Reverend's State Department, she blocked these two individuals from having or being able to testify. Now, I'll just give you the very short story on Benghazi from my viewpoint. The Benghazi event is a massive cover-up, and it's a cover-up by both parties. They're participating. The Benghazi hearings were nothing more than a dog and pony show, what we always see. It was never designed to get to the truth. It was designed to put on a good show for all of us, but never designed to get to the truth. It had to be covered up. And the reason it had to be covered up is because both Republicans and Democrats knew that there were massive international crimes being committed by the United States government, specifically via the State Department and the Central Intelligence Agency, and probably God knows who else. Because what Benghazi was, essentially, what that embassy was a front. It was a front. It was a front for a arms, basically a gun-running operation. The weapons that have been flowing into Syria to foment that war and that regime change, the Benghazi embassy there was the main house of operations. That's where things were being run out of. Take a look at the career of Christopher Stevens. What did Christopher Stevens specialize in throughout his career in the State Department? He was actually CIA all the way. Card-carrying member, CIA officer, trained through the CIA, the whole 9 yards. Total CIA. His specialty, gun running operations. That's what his specialty was, gun running. That's what Benghazi was. That's where it was the central shipping point for weapons coming in and moving and going out of North Africa into various regions, specifically into Syria. Not directly, probably going through Turkey and then into Syria. This is what had to be covered up by the Republicans and Democrats regarding Benghazi. It was a gun-running operation that went bad. Christopher Stevens could not be allowed to testify, nor could anyone else there who knew what was going on. That's the truth. You'll never get the truth, no more than you'll get the truth about the deep state involvement in the Kennedy assassinations, the Kennedys assassinations, Martin Luther King, 9/11, or many, many other deep state operations. Benghazi was just another one that went bad, like so many others. Gun-running operation had to be covered up. Hope you enjoyed the theater. Tom Tancredo, Republican of Colorado, told Breitbart News that he attended a meeting, actually a dinner, with Paul Ryan and some others, Republicans, and that Ryan said that no Republican in leadership position wants a U.S.-Mexico border wall. He says there's no chance for a border wall. But Paul Big Ears Eddie Munster Ryan, just this week, said that there will be a vote to fund the wall. Of course there'll be a vote to fund the wall. And it will fail. Because that's exactly what it's intended to do. That's what Eddie Munster Ryan is all about. He studied under John Boehner, who I know very well. He was my congressman here in the 8th District of Ohio for many years and was Speaker of the House. That was who Paul Ryan was tutored under, as was Mr. McCarthy. And this is exactly what Boehner would do. That cocksucker, he would come here to our district and he would appear at Tea Party events. He would send out all these mailers telling you how he was all about the Tea Party. He was all about all the stuff, the conservative agenda and all that. Then he would go right back to Washington, D.C. and get together with his buddies. And he would do everything he could to obstruct the agenda of the Tea Partiers. Everything he could to obstruct the conservative agenda. I already know about you, Mr. Ryan, Mr. Big Ears Ryan, Eddie Munster, and your good friend, your mentor, John Boehner. I know exactly who's running your show. You know, a lot of people don't realize that the Chamber of Commerce, what a powerful lobby this is. It's really a front group almost for some very, very powerful, high-pressure, high-dollar people. And that's who ran John Boehner for his entire time in Congress, and now they own Paul Ryan. And the Chamber of Commerce, I can assure you, which generates a lot of money, can make a lot of problems for a lot of people, they run Paul Ryan, and they are 100% opposed to a border wall. I can assure you of that. So it's really the Chamber of Commerce has given Paul Ryan the phone call to make sure that that vote fails. Hopefully, some Republicans with some testicles will actually stand up to Ryan and vote for the wall. Now, Trump's going to get his wall one way or another. He can get it funded several different ways. He may have to get Nancy Pelosi and Chucko to help him fund the wall. If that's what he has to do, he'll do it. He'll cut a deal. He will cut a deal. But this is what Paul Ryan is all about. Keep this in mind. Whenever you see that son of a bitch out there in front of a TV camera telling you something, he's lying. Every damn time. Don't believe a word that comes out of his face. He is a liar. Hardcore. Look you right in the face and lie his ass off. Right to your face. And not even bat an eye. He has no intention of trying to pass the border wall. He's doing everything he can to stop it. Throw a wrench in his spokes, and that's why Trump's going around him. Illegal immigrants. Oh my goodness. The Commi Bernie... Commi Bernie, you're going to love this one. Believe it or not, Commi Bernie had his little vote on single payer, and he actually had about, 15 or 20 Democrats not going to make the party very happy. 15 or 20 rebellious, unruly Democrats side with him on a single payer healthcare bill. And he was questioned afterwards about the single payer bill, and he said that, yes, it would include free health care for illegal immigrants because they were residents. His single-payer health care plan would pay for residents. My friends, I've seen this single-payer healthcare stuff for years. I remember back in the early 90s, they actually came out with some numbers, and they talked about the type of tax increases. And remember, they were way off then. They were talking about having a 10 to 15% tax increase across the board to be able to afford a single-payer system. And you can bet that the numbers would be double that. And within time, the numbers will be triple that. Because when you're giving something away for free, it'll be abused to death. And Bernie wants to offer it not just to American citizens. He wants to offer it to all residents, which means millions and millions, 11, 12, 15 million illegals? Man, oh man, Commi Bernie. You know, the Bernie bros have a petition to draft Bernie in 2020. And they sent this petition to him, assuming Bernie would sign right on to it. He hasn't returned it. He hasn't returned it with his signature, and now the Bernie bros are scratching their head. They're realizing that Bernie's got a lot of problems. What the Bernie bros don't realize, which some of you may want to Google and research for yourself, is that Commi Bernie Sanders does not know, just like his wife ran that college into the ground, Bernie Sanders ran his election campaign into the ground. He is massively in campaign debt. He owes a lot of people a lot of money, as in like over $10 million that he's not willing to come off of, and these people all want to get paid. He's still not paid them. Many of them are getting ready to sue Commi Bernie for the money that he owes them. He already bought a house and a new car. He's been spending that money, probably buried a bunch of it in the backyard. And all them vendors and all those people that worked out there, honest business people that he stiffed, are going to be coming after that money. He's also needing a lot of money for his legal counsel for his wife, who's likely facing criminal charges. He may be caught up in that as well. But that's what Bernie wants. That's right. Single payer for everyone, for every resident, including illegals, and $15 an hour, a government job. They all get a government job at $15 an hour. That's right. Also, we want to give them, everybody, a brand new house with a white picket fence and 2 acres of land and a painted pony. That's right, a painted pony for every citizen, even if he is illegal. Commi Bernie. What an idiot. Somebody should give him a vacation to Venezuela and let him go check out that commie plan to see how that works. DACA protesters, this is a real bright bunch. DACA protesters planned a big protest. They were going to go to all 50 senators' offices with a bunch of DACA people and raid their offices and bring a lot of pressure on them over DACA. Unfortunately, because they're a bunch of idiots, they forgot to check the calendar. Because in case they didn't know, hell, Congress took a 6-week vacation. One of the longest vacations Congress has ever taken. That's right, so they rushed into all these senators' offices, all these DACA protesters, only to find the offices were empty. Because they were all on vacation. Outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. Can you imagine how funny that was? Goodness gracious, what a bunch of idiots. 68% of GOP voters say dump Big Ears Paul Ryan and Twitch McConnell and get new leadership. 68% of GOP voters want Big Ears Paul Ryan, Eddie Munster, and the incompetent fool Twitch McConnell out. They want new leadership. I'm telling you, I'm seeing the signs everywhere. There's something brewing. Something is brewing. And it's not home brew. It's not home beer. It's not what I'm talking about. Probably a lot of that being brewed, no question. But there's something else brewing. Something of a political nature. Markets have hit all new highs as the Trump bull market roars. I don't keep up with the financial stuff as much as I used to. I just don't have time watching gold and silver and watching markets and all this sort of stuff. But Yeah, it's just amazing. If all you remember before the election, everybody talked, oh, as soon as Trump's elected, the stock market will crash. The markets will all fail. This market, that market. All this sort of things would happen. But really, we've seen the most incredible run since Trump has been president. And the thing about markets is so much of what drives markets is psychology, what people are feeling. This is why the messaging is so careful coming out of a president, coming out of his administration. People, big bankers and stuff like that. They're very careful about the language that they use because it can have tremendous impact on the psychological thinking of investors, including all those sort of passive investors who are people who have 401ks and things like that. I'm not talking about day traders and professional Wall Street traders. I'm talking about the rank and file Americans, many of whom have investments, 401ks, they have college plans, they have various IRAs and things like that. They watch these markets and they watch these things very, very closely. A lot of people do. And so the psychological effect can really be a big factor. And this is what so many people were talking about before the election, that the psychological factor was going to play very negatively. But as we can see, since Trump's been president, we've never seen a run quite as strong as this, as long as this. And all the indicators are on the uptick because people are generally optimistic. They know Trump's facing a hell of a fight. They know the swamp monsters have him surrounded. But they seem to believe that Trump is going to get it done. They're very, very confident, feel pretty good about the future economic conditions. Maybe it's because they know that they're going to get a chance to pull that lever in 2018 and 2020. You think? The media is predicting Democrats to pick up seats in 2018. Well, I have a couple thoughts on that. First of all, I see something else going on, but I do think it's possible that the Democrats could pick up seats in both houses. I think it's supposed to happen. So it's supposed to happen in the first 2 years in the midterm of a president, especially someone who's a new president like that. He's not, he wasn't reelected for his first election. You generally do see them lose seats in their first midterm. That's what historically happens. But I don't believe that that is going to happen. I'm seeing something really different. Now, I think that if a lot of establishment Republicans defeat their primary opponents and you've got the same old crowd, I could see where a lot of Republicans may not show up in quite the strong numbers that they did in 2016 to vote in the presidential race. You generally get more people more passionate about the opposition in a midterm than you do people who just got their guy voted in 2 years ago. They're kind of happy. It's all okay. We got our guys in 2 years ago. Okay, we can be content. And the other side, of course, is very unhappy, chomping at the bit. So this is a reason why you'll typically see a big turn in the first midterm. But I think that there's something else going on, and I think it's very likely that you could see a lot of these establishment Republicans and even Democrats primaried in 2018. And I think if you could see some of these primaries, it depends, I think, on the primaries. I'll have a better idea of this after the primaries. I think really have to wait till after the primaries and see how that goes, and then you can give a much better idea of what's going to happen in the general, when you actually have Republicans facing Democrats. Too early to tell on that right now. But if I had to put money on it, and I had to go with my gut instinct, I would say that the Democrats will not take back the Senate. They will not take back the House. If they picked up a couple, 2 or 3 seats in the House and maybe 1 or 2 Senate seats, I wouldn't be terribly surprised, only because the Republicans are so freaking bad. If the Republicans were just decent, they would have a landslide. But they're just so freaking bad. And I honestly believe that a lot of these Republicans want to see Democrats do good in the midterms, just to do harm to Trump. Just to do harm to Trump. I honestly believe that about Twitch McConnell and Big Ears Paul Ryan. But, they're playing a very dangerous game because the rank and file voters are paying very close attention. And it's a very, very tricky game that they're playing. I think that we have to wait till after the primaries. My gut tells me that there's something brewing. and then we could see some very big upsets. And I also, looking at the Democrat side, we know that the Bernie bros and the progressives are right now at war with the corporate Democratic Party, and so this is going to have it's going to have an effect on the Democrat side too. So you're not going to see the numbers of Democrats voting in quite the numbers I think that the media is expecting. I think I think if we see something extraordinary happen, and you see a lot of establishment candidates primaried and defeated in the primaries on both the Republican and Democratic Party, I think you could see an energized group of voters, and you could see something happen there. But if these primary opponents, most if not all of them, lose to establishment candidates, I think you could see a very lower vote turnout. And again, I think it's a wash either way. I don't expect any major big change to happen in 2018 specifically, probably more likely in 2020. But if there is anything that's going to happen in 2020 that's going to be really something that gets people's attention, I think it will be the number of establishment candidates, both Republican and Democrat, who are giving their walking papers and defeated in the primaries. And I think that's the thing to watch right now. Okay. Trump portraits still missing in federal offices after 8 months of being president. Now this is just shameful. This is sad. This just really hurts, because generally once you have a new president, man, within a couple of weeks they're replacing portraits in all government buildings, post offices, everywhere. They're getting the new portraits up of the new president. And Trump's been president now for 8 months, but we still do not have the portraits of the president up in hardly any federal buildings or anywhere else. Just the total disrespect to this man. In a way, I feel sorry for him. It's hard to feel sorry for a billionaire, but just the way he's being treated is just sad, and it makes you angry. But this is uncalled for. This is just getting very petty, very childish, and this is the type of stuff that just really makes people angry. It's just a shame what we're dealing with. Trey Gowdy, the pitbull, says the Democrats are fearful that the FBI used the fictional Russian dossier to justify the Trump-Russia probe. Duh. We're going to see, I imagine, the pitbull is going to be scheduling some hearings, is now the new head of the Oversight Committee. He will be calling some hearings to try to get to the bottom of the dossier, but we already know from the Senate side and the Senate Judiciary Committee how hard the Justice Department is fighting that. They do not want to let certain members, certain people in the FBI, Comey's chief of staff and the other guy, they don't want them testifying. These are the guys that probably know where all the bones are buried. So if they're being withheld from the Senate, they'll probably be withheld from the House. We'll have to see exactly how far the pitbull and Senator Grassley and Feinstein, how hard they're going to push. They may go so far as, in fact, I assume they will issue subpoenas and that type of thing. And we'll just have to see how that plays out. But yeah, it's a very good question, and it's something we've been talking about here on TowerGate for a long time. Was the dossier used as the reason to get the surveillance? And that goes to the next question of who was behind the dossier. See, this is the whole thing that we need to get to the bottom of, one way or another. I think Mr. Guberov in civil court has a much better chance of getting the answer to these questions than we do relying on these members of Congress and the deep state, who apparently doesn't feel that they have to cooperate. And I don't know what you can do to them. Apparently nothing. A Maryland judge orders investigation of Hillary Clinton's email deleting lawyers David Kendall, Cheryl Mills, and Heather Samuelson. Judge Paul Harris overruled the objections by the Clinton lawyers. So the case will go forward. And if they are found guilty, which they are guilty, they will be disbarred. Now, David Kendall, he's been the Clintons' lawyer since Arkansas days. He has been the Clintons' lawyer. He's represented the Clintons in so many scam cases over the years, going all the way back to Whitewater and the TravelGate scandal, and you name the scandal. David Kendall is the Clintons' main senior attorney, personal attorney for both the Clintons. He's a heavy hitter. High-dollar lawyer, he may be disbarred. Cheryl Mills, of course, as you know, was granted immunity by the dishonorable James Comey in the alleged email investigation, which wasn't an investigation. And of course, Heather Samuelson was up to her eyeballs and with a lot of this stuff as well during the election. So it looks like that the case is going to go forward. And essentially, the case is basically whether or not these three attorneys for the Clintons violated their oath as lawyers by destroying evidence, which they did. There's no question whether or not they deleted these emails. They did. It's the way that they did it which is being called into question, and whether or not there was also classified information, which of course there was. So they're essentially guilty of doing these things. It's just a question of, semantics at this point of how they argue the case and how the judge decides to rule. But at this point, the case is going forward, and we'll see if anything comes out of it, if they are to be disbarred. Alrighty, those are the major breaking events of today. TowerGate, September 14th, 2017, Thursday, day 192. Thank you so much for tuning in, for sharing and thumbs up on the videos. I appreciate all you folks making comments in the comments section and giving me good ideas and giving me information I didn't have. Oh, Mr. Chopra reminded us that Mr. Hansen is still alive, and he's in prison still, and that's where he's going to be until the day he rots into a corpse. Mr. Hansen will never see the light of day, nor should the Reverend Rotten, or Debbie Blabbermouth Wassman Schultz, or Mr. Comey, and on down the line. But we'll get back to that tomorrow. Thank you for tuning in. Good night, you guys. Bye.